Welcome to the next chapter with Jen Bryan. Today, I am joined by the man, the myth, and the legend himself, Tony Cox. Hi, Tony. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's such an honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me as your guest. This is great.
I am so excited. So you have 53 years in broadcasting, which is absolutely phenomenal, and you're not slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, 53 years in broadcasting, which is amazing. I'm only 54. No, I started very young. I was 7 years old, Jen, when I told my father I was going to be a radio announcer. And the reason I got turned on to radio is because I used to watch my dad as he listened to the radio. I thought it was the most magnificent form of communication ever. When a song came on that he liked, I noticed he'd tap his foot and smile. When a Giants game, baseball game was on, it was like he was sitting in the ballpark listening to that radio. And it turned me on. Theater of the mind. Radio has no pictures, but it can create images in your head just by use of words. Pretty amazing.
That is so phenomenal. Can you tell the viewers about your various experiences in the industry? Because you've done so many different things and you have so many exciting things ahead.
Yes, yes. And I am almost 70 years old. And to be at this point in my life where something brand new came out of nowhere that challenges me, it thrills me, it reignites the passion I had as a 14-year-old disc jockey. I'm now doing live theater after 53 years of broadcasting all across the country. I've been a program director, a marketing director, creative director. I work for sports franchises. I've done movies, produced many TV commercials. I'm the voice of commercials maybe most people have heard. Ford, Toyota, American Cancer Society, the NBA, Harlem Globetrotters. And now with technology like you and I are using, which is flawless, by the way, now I have a studio in my house that 10 years ago would have been impossible to have. So I produce now and edit and make TV commercials, radio commercials right out of the corner of my house. And in January of this year, a woman that I've been doing commercials for 31 years, she has a national touring play called God's Trying to Tell You Something. And it is amazing. 70 cast members, 20-member choir. We have a band and orchestra, and we're touring the country, 13 cities. We opened last month in Fresno. In 4 weeks, 3 weeks actually, we're going to open in Oakland and Berkeley. Then we go to Vegas, San Diego, Anchorage, Alaska, Newark, New Jersey, Denver, Chicago. And this is exciting because it's live theater, which is different from doing film or radio where you can always say, cut, let's do it again. When you have 100 people moving in sequence, surgical sequence, it's almost like a football play. Everyone has to be there. No two venues are the same. No 2 days are the same. There are timing issues that must be adjusted on the fly. It's almost like being a quarterback in a football game, calling plays, and everything seems to work. So I'm hooked on live theater now, and it's opened up a whole new genre of excitement for me.
That's so amazing. And the viewers are going to want to know, what is your role? Are you actually now acting in the play? Like, are you the voice of anybody? Like, what is your role in this production?
This is weird. Technically, in the program, I am the creative and technical director, which means I call the play. I sit with what's called a ClearComm headset on with a microphone, and I push a button to talk, and I talk to the band, backstage director, the audio guy, the video guy, and the lighting guy. And I have a 73-page booklet in front of me, and from the time the play starts until the final curtain call, I'm sitting there on the ClearComm pushing buttons going, standby video, Q17, and go. I don't know what that means, but when I say it, everything works. The lights come on. It's a pretty powerful feeling. And this is my first part in a play as an actor. They cast me. The play's called God's Trying to Tell You Something. And I got cast as the voice of God. Pretty big role for my first play. And it is, it's thrilling. It really is. It's got a good message too. This play has been touring for 31 years. It's played to 1.5 million. COVID shut it down. And as it started up again, the playwright called upon me to help get a crew back together. So we did. And it actually kicked it up a notch. The 31 years prior to us coming on board in January, they didn't have the media that they have now, which is a huge 30-foot by 15-foot screen that sits behind the stage looking at the audience. And I create and produce all the images that go on the back as the play is going on. The play opens up, it's about slavery in America and finding freedom. And it starts out in Egypt thousands of years ago. And when the play opens up, you see this cool visual in the background of silhouettes of pyramids with night stars. And it just really enhanced the play. So now I'm touring with them. So it seems like every day I get a new responsibility. I'm now the media buyer also. So it means I go to the cities before the show arrives about a month early. I do a walkthrough to look at the technical elements because no two stages are the same. I'm learning so much about live theater. We need to know where the exits are, the dressing rooms, quick change, how to make things fly. There's a lot of special effects. My buddy Marcus Allen let me borrow his stage designer, Hugo Martinez, and the guy's a genius. He makes things happen. I don't know how he does it. I'm just glad he does. And it really is an amazing show. So if you get a chance to see God's Trying to Tell You Something, come see it.
Fantastic. And a quick side note, you were Marcus Allen's boss at 102.5, correct, at the beginning of his career?
I won't say I was his boss. I was his production director. In 1988, when Mark S. Allen came to KSFM in Sacramento, it's an R&B station, hip hop, really full of soul. And I did middays. I worked from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the air. And then when I was off the air, I was creative director. So I was the voice that they're called bumpers. Anytime you listen to a radio station, you hear that voice that says KSFM 102.5, playing hip hop and R&B from Sacramento. That's what I do. And that's voice acting. So I was his production director. And one day he came into me and asked me if I'd give him a little hand on interpreting script, because disc jockeys, on-air personalities, the last thing they want to do when they get off the air is go into production and do tags for now playing at a theater near you. They could care less about the commercials, except it is the only way they get the bread and butter. So it's part of the job. When you get off the air, you got to go do production. So I would load Mark up more than anybody else because he was so darn good. And one day he came in and he goes, man, I'm just not getting it. What do I do? And I told him how to colorize words, how to take words and make them come to life. There's 1,000 ways to say a line. For instance, now playing at a theater near you. How would you play it? How would you say that? Now playing at a theater near you, or now playing at a theater near you, or now playing at a theater near you, or now playing at a theater near you. So there's just 5 examples of how to say a simple line like that. When you have a 60-second script with 120 words in it, you have to be able to interpret that. They're not your words. You have to take them and make them your words, just like you did write the script. So there is a brain psych to voice acting. So when I taught Mark how to colorize his words, I had him say, I said, say the color blue, say blue. And he said blue. And I said, now say yellow. And he said yellow. I said, make me hear the difference between blue and yellow. And I could see the lights come on in his head. I just talked to Mark a couple of weeks ago, and I called him to compliment him. He's on ABC 10 here in Sacramento, and nationally he's got the Market the Movies, and he is a movie producer and director now. And I just happened to call him the other day, and he said, Tony, every time I sit down in front of a microphone to do my VO, my voice service for a package, they call it, whatever he's doing, I think of you, Tony. I think, how would Tony do this? That's the ultimate compliment. And, I just share what I have. I mean, somebody taught me, so I'm going to teach those. And with people like Marcus Allen, whoa, it's like, I don't know, it's like some people could be in this business, could be, if you were looking at horses like DJs, there's horses that pull plows and they're hardworking horses. Mark is a racehorse. He's the one you see at Churchill Downs coming across the line. So to give him a little advice and see him take that and apply it exponentially above what I would ever have thought of, always gives me more than I give him. So we have a good symbiotic relationship. He's a great man. And you know Mark very well.
I do. He gave me the start of my career. So
he sure did.
Film. So
yes,
and all these wonderful things I learned firsthand from the best, and like to have his mentor and teacher on here with me, I feel so privileged. So I mean, and then now you're doing theater and God's trying to tell you something and you're the voice of God, which seems pretty symbolic of your evolution in your career, be able to mentor those around you and now be able to take on this new adventure so much later in life. Like, what made you pivot and decide to go this route now?
From day one, none of my career moves were predetermined. I never sat back and said that I'm going to do this. In this business, if you do what you do well, people will acknowledge that and you get offers. I don't think I have applied for a job in 40 years. I don't think I have. I can't remember the last time I put together a resume. So it's very nice to be in a position where you get offers. And now I'm getting more offers than I could. I have to turn work down now. I'm a campaign manager for a political candidate who did very well last night in the election. She's going to the final election in September for California Assembly. And now I'm doing, I've always mentored people and now I'm charging for it. So that's new. And then, continuing my voice work. And I also have internet properties that I've been working on for about 25 years. And I was lucky enough to purchase domain names before anyone knew what point and click was, before Yahoo, before Google. No one knew what it was. I bought Corvette.com, promnight.com, puberty.com, arrested.com, oceancruise.com, theodds.com, tvinbed.com. My favorite one is live streaming to Uranus.com. Yeah, try to beat that one. I own it. So I don't know how I knew to buy those back then for $35 a piece, but they're worth, some of them, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Arrested.com, just the domain name. I get offers every day. You want to sell that domain? So I have that also. So yeah, it's been very good to me, this business. And every day I wake up, I'm almost 70 in a couple of years. And every day when I wake up, honestly, when I hit the floor, I'm that 14-year-old kid. I haven't lost it. It seemed like yesterday when I did my first radio show. By the way, I was 14 years old and was hired to do one shift because somebody had been fired and they had no one to go on the air except this kid here. I was the youngest licensed broadcaster in California at the time, at age 14. I had my third-class broadcast endorsement with Elements 1, 2, and 9, which mean nothing. And I did my show that night, and I was fired right after it. Was the program director called in and said, "Hey, Tony, that wasn't bad, but don't come back until you learn a little bit more." So I went home and practiced for about 3 months over the summer, and son of a gun, the same guy didn't call up and hire me again, and that was the last time I had to look back. It's not the last time I was fired. In this business, you can get fired for, I don't know, being cross-eyed one day. There's so many reasons to be fired. I've been fired. I was fired once when I had the highest ratings in the marketplace because they changed format. So there is no job security in broadcasting. And as you know, in entertainment business, it's a fickle business. Any way the wind blows, it doesn't really matter, as Queen said. There's no security in this business, which leads to my next statement that in order to be successful in this business, you've got to be fluid. You cannot get in a comfort zone. And so many of my friends from the past weren't able to make that paradigm shift in the 90s when we went from analog tape to digital editing, digital broadcasting. It took them out of their comfort zone. A lot of them left the business. A lot of great talent left the business. I, on the other hand, reinvented it. I looked at it and go, how do I do the same thing that I'm so good at totally differently? It's almost like left-handed day, you know? Wake up one day, I'm going to do everything with my left hand if you're right hand. And that was kind of how it felt. It's a paradigm shift, learning to do the same thing totally different. It's a strange thing, very challenging and really exciting in this business. Because if you aren't willing to learn how to do the same thing in a new way, you're going to be back 20 years ago. I mean, 20 years ago, we had tape decks. We had to record things on tape. We had to make multiple copies. We had to deliver those tapes to the TV and radio stations physically. There was no email. It was a whole different world. Now, if I have 120 radio stations and I do a TV commercial or a radio commercial, instead of making 120 copies of it, I just put all the address in my email and push one button, and it's there in 5 minutes. Revolutionary. Other than that, computers suck. I didn't say that, computer. No, it's okay.
So how did you learn to be so resilient? Because that is a skill, and being able to kind of rebound and like always think ahead and land on your feet. Because the show is about like the next chapter, and so many people during the pandemic, lost their job or moved or things changed, and they had to be able to adapt.
Yeah, that's a twofold answer. Number one is you have to be brave. You have to be really brave. And if you don't live on the edge, you're taking up too much space in this business. So you always have to be on the edge. And secondly, you can't take things personally. You have to understand that the way to be prepared for the future is to know what you're doing now. Don't worry about what you should have done or what you should be doing. If you're in the moment, if you are where you are now, everything is where it is at that moment. I know it sounds very cosmic. It is the truth, though. When a musician plays music, they are in the now. That's what makes a good musician. They have that, they call it being in the pocket. And that's what makes music work. It syncopates the mind, the soul. And when you get that two together with music, it feels good. That's why music's so darn popular. It puts people in the now. Could be memories of the past. It doesn't take you back then, it brings them to now. And that's the magic of entertainment. That's why Disneyland works so well. If you're at Disneyland and feel like you should be somewhere else, there's something wrong with you. When you're at Disneyland, that is the center of the universe. There's a lot of those. So once you know what the center of your universe is, live in it. Don't worry about what is coming in or going out. Don't over concern yourself with what you think you want, should, need, or have. Just do what you do. It's like dating. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Match.com, but that's almost like filling out a resume to get a mate, to find somebody that you love or want to be with. It's like filling out a resume. And who hasn't embellished a resume? So when you go on these dating sites and you want to find someone that you really want to share time with, it's presumptuous. It really isn't the way that you should. Well, I'm not saying it doesn't work, because there are many people who do find love and romance. However, that's only about 2 to 3% of the others who thumb through it. Oh, isn't it? I mean, you're shopping. Why don't you just go out and do what you do? If you like golf, go play golf. If you like tiddlywinks, go play tiddlywinks, and you will meet someone when you least expect it.
Exactly. I mean, I love that you're saying this, because like as the queen of dating,
Pardon me?
As the owner of the Queen of Dating and having taught classes on dating, and that 95% of people lie in their online dating profile statistically.
Well, yeah, I mean, my God, compliments to the photographer, because here at dinner, you just don't look like your profile shot with so I compare it to a menu at Denny's. You walk into Denny's and you open it up, you see this lush hamburger with the vegetables and the juices and the cheese melting and the sesame bun and the fries are golden. And you order that and it comes to your plate and you go, what the hell happened? That's a flat hamburger. It doesn't even look like the one in the menu. So, it's a weird world that we live in that way, because it's so pretentious in a way. And again, I'm not saying that it's wrong to search for love on the internet, but I'd rather search for jet skis or new raincoats or vacations or, you know, that's a little more finite, and it doesn't mess with your mind. You know, if you're buying a jet ski, you get a jet ski. If you buy something on Amazon, it comes the next day and it's pretty much like it is. If not, you just send it back. You can't do that on a date. I know so many people, you know, there's professional students who go to school for all their lives and they get degree after degree after degree and they have a brain like this, but they don't put it to use. They're professional, you know, students. And there's people like that with love and romance. I think they are more intrigued with the hunt than the actual finding or, you know, the mate itself. You know, it's the sport, I think, that gets people's adrenaline flowing. There's certainly nothing more exciting than new romance. I mean, wow, the whole world just centers around you and whomever you're getting to know. And that's magic. And yeah, that magic can't exist all year or for the lifetime, but it is a good foundation to build upon. And so that excitement of new romance, I guess, is what I feel with my industry. I wake up every day and I romance it. And I'm kind of a romantic. and I guess that's why I love people. And you know me. Do I ever stop talking?
No, it's very difficult to interview you for that reason. But you're a very fascinating person that has a lot to offer the world. So I feel like the knowledge and the wisdom that you share with the world is worth.
And you too. We've had conversations in the studio before, and you're an amazing woman. You have trials and tribulations, and you've dealt with things that a lot of people don't deal with, and you handle it beautifully. You're a strong, powerful person, and yet still very sensitive and creative. So you got a good package going on there.
Thank you, Fred. That's a good dating endorsement, you know, like for us single people.
Oh yeah, you got my stamp of approval.
The funny part about you talking about like the dating profile, like, you know, in Sacramento and such, is like, that's why I started the Queen of Dating 10 years ago, is I missed dating in Southern California. And I didn't like online dating. I wanted to create opportunities for people to meet in person, because that in-person chemistry and seeing if you're wasting your time and not getting emotionally invested in somebody versus if you're on a dating app and you make up this person in your mind, you set up yourself to be disappointed. And so much of our life is about connecting with one another and having those meaningful conversations. And when you go on a date or spend that much time and energy and you can't even see if you like the person or know what you're getting, it's basically setting you up for failure. And
You're right.
That's never a good feeling, because then you start to isolate and not want to put yourself out there anymore because you've been disappointed time and again. Whereas when you meet people in real life, you're going to get the real version of them, or a much closer version, because you know exactly the person you're getting. You can ask questions, you have friends, you meet people that way more organically, and it's much more your personality, I think, comes out. And when you use dating apps, a lot of the time it's like on to the next, versus that emotional investment you make in a person when you actually meet that person and get to know them.
Absolutely. And I think there's a difference between men and women when it comes to how men approach dating and how women approach dating. And not to be, I don't know what the word is, I'm going to use a example, but men are the hunters and women are what men hunt for. Women, and don't take this long, if there was such a thing as having a commodity, women have a commodity and men want that commodity. And what we do sexist wise, the genders, the way we approach that, being the target and the hunter, is where all that complexity arises. That's where it becomes very, very complex. And yet it's very simple. You know, you're looking for romance, love, passion, partnership, future life. And so in today's world, that has been kind of, that element has been homogenized a bit. So there's no fine line anymore. The etiquette of dating has kind of disappeared. I like to open doors for my dates, and I care about their well-being before I care about pleasure. And it just lays down a better foundation for when the relationship matures, I think. And it gets a lot of BS out of the way. And I'm not pretending when I am doing these things that my parents taught me. My mother and my father taught me how to treat people. And then later, as I matured, how to treat women. Now, with that said, I didn't deal with any of that crap when I was a kid because I was 14 years old and I had a #1 radio show. And I sounded like I was 25 years old. My voice dropped when I was about 12 and I got some pipes. Man. So when I was on the radio at 14 years old, answering request lines, there were a lot of women who would call and say, "Hey, babe, how you doing?" Thinking I was 23 years old. And they'd come down to the radio station, they'd look for me, and they'd look around, they saw this kid on the air. They go, "Well, hey, where's Tony Cox?" And I go, "I'm Tony." Oh my God. So they freak because that theater of the mind that we create on radio is so visual that they had a different idea of what I look like. And they fell in love with that persona when they saw me. Some of them were disappointed. The ones who weren't, though, well, I grew up very quickly, I might say. So I didn't have to worry in high school about dating, the awkwardness of asking someone to prom, because I had a radio show and, you know, I had a lot of people that would like to go out and hang. Most of them were women. Girls.
So if you were going to give advice to somebody that wants to pursue like a younger person or yourself at 14, what like advice would you give yourself if they want to pursue a career in entertainment, broadcasting, film, TV, radio, theater? What advice would you give?
First thing I would say is you can pursue a career in this business, so let the career pursue you. If you want to be a disc jockey, get 2 turntables and a microphone, sit in your room and be a disc jockey. Doesn't even matter if you're connected to a radio station. If you create that in your head, plugging into a radio station or a podcast or any streaming is just doing the same thing, only people hear you. You have to create that. You have to believe it. You have to give yourself a license to be creative, much like my driver's license. It says I can drive a car because I know how to turn and stop, and hopefully. So in broadcasting, you learn how to communicate. Less is more. There's always fewer words that create more images. And that's an art. It's like a painter. Some painters they're minimalists. They can draw one single line and you can see a world of visions. So a good communicator paints pictures with the words. So many things are wasting people's time. Well, a program director, when I was in Chicago on the radio there, we did what was called critiques. Every day when you got off the radio, you would go into the program director's office with a tape of the show you just finished. And the 2 of you would sit there and listen to the show you just did. The program director would critique you. Yeah, it's pretty good. Do this. One day, Jerry Clifton, my program director in Chicago, I got off there one day. I'd just gotten hired in Chicago. And I did what I thought was a pretty good show. And he was listening to the first few sets. I was on the air and got off the air one day and Jerry listened to my show and he was going, "Hey, that's, I was doing, WEFM, this Tony Cox, beautiful day in Chicago, 65 degrees outside right now." And he goes, "What the hell? Why'd you say that?" I go, "What?" He goes, "Let's listen again. Hey, this is Tony Cox. It's 3:25 now, 65 degrees outside." And he goes, "Why'd you say that?" I go, "What?" He said, "Why'd you say it was 65 degrees outside? Would you give the temperature of your studio? Don't you think they know you're saying it's 65 degrees outside? And why did you say it's 3:25 now? Would you give the time if it weren't now?" Those are minor things. That's how you turn a raw diamond into a faceted gem. You remove all those things and you let people that you're listening to, you respect their time. If you save someone 3 seconds of listening, they're going to get it. They're going to stick with you. You take a lot of time. There's nothing worse than listening to somebody and you know where they're going to go. And they keep saying and talking. You know what they're going to say. That's irritating. That's not communicating. That's blabbering. And a lot of people just like to hear themselves talk. And that's what separates the rookies from the pros.
That's so funny. Just because you do talk a lot, but you have so much wisdom, and you help me actually, not post on social media how I was feeling anymore. And every time I'm going to post something, I think of your voice in my head.
Oh, you do?
Oh, absolutely. You
oh, yeah. Yeah, there were a few times when I did call you up and say, hey, why'd you say that?
Yeah, I'm like, this isn't what you want to be portraying to the world, because how I see it and how someone else objectively is going to see it, and like stopping and being mindful and, being open to having that experience, like be able to be mentored and be open that you don't always have the answers, and, you don't have to be right, and someone's trying to go out of their way to help you, and accepting that help versus fighting.
Yeah.
Like you talking about your boss mentoring you and explaining to you why. There was a why to what you told me, and it's worked out a lot better for me career-wise, to be honest, and being able to open other doors. And if I hadn't taken that advice, I don't know if I would have ended up with the show and doing this. So,
I'll certainly take that credit, and I'll also take the blame if you ever blame someone for being in this business. And that opens up another area of what's called ego. Everyone has an ego. You have to have an ego of some type. When you're on the air, when you're an actor, when you portray a role, that ego can get kind of big, and it can grow and grow and grow. To be a pro, you got to let that ego grow so big that it blows up and your head shrinks down to the size of a pin. Then you're a pro. That's when you can take it. That's when you become humble. That's when you realize it isn't you that's good or bad. It's your product. Tony Cox is a product. Yeah, it's me. When I'm on the radio, my brain works differently than when I'm sitting off camera or off mic. I don't know how it works. There's times when Tony Cox is doing something and I'm sitting back going, what the hell did I just say? Where did that come from? There's a lot of things creatively that when I turn on that process, I don't know where it comes from. It's out there in the cosmos somewhere, and it somehow I receive it and it comes out my mouth. and I trust it. It's like a surfer going to the same beach every day, and they'll swim out, catch a wave and ride it back in. They'll swim out, catch a wave and ride it back in. They'll do that every day of the year, same beach. There's no two waves that are the same. And when you're surfing, you're on that wave. You're not worried about taxes or dinner that night. You're right there. That's the great thing about broadcasting and show business is when you put in all the practice and it's not easy. It's very simple. And when you put in the time and you refine it, it looks so easy that everybody says, oh, I can do that. Oh, no, you can't. And that's the best compliment any performer can get is, oh, I think I can do that. I had a guy named Steve Trejo who ended up being a successful person in broadcasting, program director in Vegas, just a great guy. And I trained him. He started as my intern. And he came in one day and sat in the lobby of KSFM for 6 hours. And I called the receptionist. I go, that guy's been sitting there for 6 hours. What's going on? She said, oh, he's waiting for a tour of the radio station. I said, he's been sitting there 6 hours. Nobody gave him a tour. So I went out and I said, Steve, I'm Tony. I'll give you a tour. He'd never been in a station before. Now, when I give a tour to a newbie that wants to be in a business, there's two things they can say when I show them the behind the scenes magic. They can either say, I know I can do that. Wow. Or they can say, is that how it's done? And that mindset is how I choose to work with people. If they say, oh, I can do that. No, you can't. I'm not going to waste time breaking you down to show you that you can't do that. When a person says, Is that how it's done? That means they got turned on. They know there's a process. They know they can't do it right now. They've seen it though, and they know that they can learn to do it. And that's a very thin line between the two mindsets, yet it is what I use to triage people, because everybody wants to be in this business. I have a meeting tomorrow of a woman who wants to do voiceovers, and she's got potential. So I interview these people before I accept it, because I don't waste time. I don't have time to waste. If I'm going to show somebody how to do it, they better do it. First thing I tell a person who wants to do voiceover, I say, you got to learn to breathe, man. You got to learn to breathe before you open your mouth to say anything. And they say, well, what do you mean you got to learn to breathe? I said, well, can you talk for 3 minutes? Can you talk for 3 minutes without breathing? And they go, no. And I proceed to talk for 3 minutes without breathing. And I can give an example. I can talk for 3 minutes right now. You won't see me take a breath. I could talk all the way into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and you won't see me take a breath because I don't stop talking, and you never see me fill my lungs with air. I just took a full breath and you didn't see me breathe. So you can't detect me. I can talk forever, and I can project loud. I can get real soft. I can get balls in. I can get really high and excited. I haven't taken a breath, have I? Have you heard me breathe? No, you won't hear me breathe. Again, I talk all day, but this is valuable. I want you to say something. So this is how I start out mentoring people. I teach them how to breathe. If they do it, I keep them on as a student. If they don't do it, I can tell the next lesson if they've done it or not, because they don't breathe right. So it is that kind of thing.
It's a very cutthroat business, and you have to humble yourself, like the ego. You have to be able to put that aside and be willing to hear from people that have been in the business for a long time how to do it. Everyone, the people you're talking about, don't want to be open to that. They just want to do it their way. And I think that in life, that makes it very challenging in any job if you're not open and willing to learn and listen and adapt.
True. Yeah, you could be a bookkeeper. You could be airline pilot. You could be janitor. And if you're not willing to cater, you have to be hospitable in any industry, except restaurants. Those guys have attitudes.
Well, Tony, if people want to learn more, if people want to learn more about you, where can they go to find more information about your current project in the play, or to get tickets or learn more about you? Where should they go?
Sacramento Parole Board. No, my email, one of my emails is TonyCoxVideos@yahoo.com. I'm always open to people who want to contact me. Where else am I? Oh, Facebook. Yeah, Tony Cox Sacramento Facebook. I think that's probably the best way to do it. It's got all my contact information, my history, some of the things I've done, and some of the people that I've been fortunate enough to work with over the years, and how I did what I did. My timeline on Facebook goes back 14 years, and when I first signed on, I was able to get all of the images and I put them together almost like a resume. And you know me, I'll do live from anywhere. I'll cover the opening of a new outhouse because I have this device here. This is the world. I can launch a missile with this, and I do a lot of Facebook Live. I can also order hamburgers right now. You want anything?
I need a little snack over here.
Awesome device. However, this device can broadcast. I have a TV station in here. I have a recording studio. I have a full video editing. This is an amazing thing. However, much like somebody who wants to be an auto mechanic and knows nothing about working on cars decides to go out and buy $5,000 worth of tools, thinking he's going to be a mechanic when he comes home. No, it isn't that easy. You can't just go out and buy a communication device and communicate. You still have to have those fundamental skills, knowing how to describe the color of a giraffe wearing a turtleneck. I mean, what color is a turtleneck? How tall is the giraffe? So by creating these images using words, it is much like a painter using various colors, mixing all the, Bob Ross, let's put a little tree right there. Yeah. And that's really what I do, because I can't paint. I'm a terrible artist. I'm a terrible singer.
Well, if people want to come see you and hear you be the voice of God and God's trying to tell you something, where can they go get tickets, Tony?
Oh, thank you. Well, in 3 weeks, we opened in Fresno last month. In 3 weeks, we're playing July 9th at the beautiful Temple Hills Church Theater. It's a beautiful temple that you see in the Berkeley, Oakland Hills when you're driving by 80 sitting up there. It's just gorgeous. It's unbelievable. So we're there July 9th, one show only, Saturday, 2 p.m. July 9th. And then I think we go to Vegas, San Diego, Anchorage. Sacramento is in September. We're working on an appearance in October at the Hollywood Bowl. Now tell me that's not.
Oh, I will be at that one.
Played there. So, that's exciting. That's exciting. And you can't just call this in with live theater. You've got to be there. You got to be focused. It is much like a sport where when the game starts, you don't look back. Yeah, I mean, if an actor falls or they don't get their costume changed right, or they forget a line, which I did, I got my God line. Thank God the playwright was in my ear telling me what to say, which is live, by the way. I'm still calling the play, and there's 4 paragraphs I have to deliver in the middle of the play. It's the only lines God have in the whole thing. And it's called God's Trying to Tell You Something. So that character of God is very important. And Bird from Judge Judy was actually going to play God. He's got an amazing voice. And he had the role, except he got cast in a TV show, some crime show. What's it called? Law and Order, SUV or SVU or SOB. I don't know what it is. But he had to go to Hollywood, and he wasn't able to tour with us. But he may play God. I would gladly give that role to Bird. You know Bird.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's a cool dude.
Thank you so much again, Tony, for joining us today. I know the viewers are going to love every minute that we had to spend with you today.
My honor, and I look forward to seeing you when you're back up here in Sacramento, or when we come to Southern California with the show.
Absolutely. Tune in next week to see the next chapter of Jen Bryant.